The waves crashed against the rocky shore of Big Sur, their rhythm eternal and soothing. Marcus Vane stood on his balcony, sketching the curves of the coastline in his notebook, trying to capture the way moonlight painted silver across the dark water. Architecture had always been about finding harmony between human spaces and the natural world, and nowhere inspired him more than this wild stretch of California coast. "You're going to freeze out here," a voice called from inside. Marcus smiled without turning. "5 more minutes, Owen. I'm almost done." Owen Chun emerged onto the balcony anyway, carrying 2 steaming mugs of tea. His long fingers, calloused from years of guitar strings and piano keys, wrapped around the ceramic as he handed one to Marcus. "You said that an hour ago. And you know, I lose track of time when I'm working. Which is why I'm the responsible one in this friendship." Owen leaned against the railing beside him, his dark eyes scanning the horizon. "Besides, you dragged me all the way out here for this architecture retreat. The least you can do is not catch pneumonia before it starts." Marcus finally closed his notebook, accepting the tea gratefully. They'd been friends since college, bonding over late nights in the design studio, where Owen would compose music while Marcus drafted buildings. 2 creative souls who understood each other's need to create beauty in the world. What neither of them saw was the shimmer in the air above them, the way space itself seemed to bend and fold. Hidden from human perception, the observation pod hovered silently, its occupants watching with intense focus. Inside, Nessa pressed her hand against the transparent viewing panel, her violet eyes studying the 2 men below. Her skin held a faint lavender hue in the pod's dim light, and her silver hair cascaded past her shoulders in waves that seemed to catch starlight even in the darkness. "These are the ones," she whispered, her voice carrying the melodic quality of her people. "I can feel it." Talia moved beside her, taller and more angular, with deeper purple skin and eyes like amethysts. Where Nessa's features were soft and warm, Talia's held an elegant severity. "You said that about the last 3 pairs we observed. This time is different." Nessa's fingers traced the outline of Marcus's form on the panel. "Look at him, the way he sees beauty in everything around him. And his friend, the one with music in his soul. They have gentle hearts. Gentle hearts won't save our people, Nessa. We need genetic compatibility, not poetry." Nessa turned to her companion, her expression both sad and determined. "We need both. If we're asking them to help us rebuild our world, we can't just take what we need like thieves in the night. We need men who will understand, who might even—" She trailed off, unable to finish the thought. Talia's severe expression softened slightly. Who might care? Yes. For a long moment, they watched in silence. Below, Marcus and Owen talked and laughed, oblivious to the desperate hope focused on them from above. "The genetic scans are promising," Talia finally said, consulting the data streaming across her interface. "Both show markers that could be compatible with our biology. And they're healthy, strong. The musician has a particularly robust immune system. See? Even the data agrees with my intuition. Your intuition has a romantic streak that worries me." But Talia was smiling now, just barely. "When do we approach them?" "Soon. Let me prepare the stasis field first. We'll bring them aboard once they're inside, away from potential witnesses." Nessa began working the controls, her movements practiced and efficient. "Kiros, prepare the transport sequence." A voice responded from the ship's communication system, warm and slightly amused. "As you command, botanist. Though I still think you should let me handle the initial contact. My diplomatic training." "Your diplomatic training involved trading mineral rights, not asking humans to save our species," Talia interrupted. "We'll manage. Your lack of faith wounds me. Your ego will survive." Nessa barely heard their banter. Her focus remained on the 2 men below, particularly on Marcus. There was something about the careful way he moved, the thoughtfulness in his gestures that called to something deep within her. In another life, another time, she might have simply admired him from afar. But her people were dying. 37,000 Verdi remained on their homeworld. And every day that number shrank. The virus had struck without warning 5 years ago, targeting the reproductive systems of Verdi males with ruthless efficiency. By the time their scientists understood what was happening, nearly every male of breeding age had been rendered sterile. The few who remained could no longer sustain the population. Desperate, they'd searched the galaxy for compatible species. Most were too different genetically, their biology incompatible with Verdi physiology. But humans beautiful, diverse, complicated humans held promise. The genetic analysis suggested a possibility, however slim, that human genetic material could merge with Verdi biology to create viable offspring immune to the virus. It was a hope thread-thin and precious, and Nessa clung to it with everything she had. They're heading inside, Talia observed. Nessa watched Marcus and Owen move toward the glass doors, still talking animatedly. In moments, they'd be in the house, vulnerable to the transport beam. "Wait," Nessa said suddenly. Talia looked at her in surprise. "What's wrong?" Give them one more minute. One more minute of their normal life before everything changes." Understanding crossed Talia's features. She'd known Nessa since childhood, had watched her grow from a curious girl into a brilliant botanist with a heart too large for one person. "You're afraid they'll hate us." "I'm terrified they'll hate us." Nessa's hand pressed flat against the panel. "We're about to take them from everything they know. Ask them to do something so intimate and strange. What if they can't forgive us? What if we're no better than the virus that's killing us, just another force destroying lives?" Talia placed a hand on Nessa's shoulder, her grip firm and reassuring. "Then we'll make sure they understand we had no choice. And we'll give them every reason to say yes willingly. And if they don't, then we let them go and find others." "But Nessa?" Talia turned her friend to face her fully. "I've never seen you drawn to anyone the way you're drawn to him. Maybe your instincts are telling you something important. Maybe this is meant to be." Nessa wanted to believe that. Wanted to believe the universe could offer something beautiful, even in the midst of tragedy. "Initiate transport," she said softly. The pod hummed with energy. Below, Marcus and Owen had just stepped through the doorway when the world around them dissolved into light. There was no pain, no fear in that first moment, just the strange sensation of being unmade and remade simultaneously. When the light faded, they stood in a circular chamber of silvery metal and crystalline panels, beautiful and utterly alien. And before them stood two women, unlike any they'd ever seen, with lavender and purple skin, eyes that held entire galaxies, and expressions filled with hope and desperate apology. "Please," Nessa said, her voice trembling slightly as she spoke in perfect English. "Please don't be afraid. My name is Nessa, and we need your help to save my world." Marcus's architectural training had taught him to stay calm in disorienting spaces, to assess and understand his environment before reacting. But nothing had prepared him for this standing in a chamber that seemed to breathe with light, facing two beings who looked like they'd stepped out of a dream painted in shades of twilight. Owen's hand gripped his arm, fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. "Marcus," he whispered, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. "Tell me you're seeing this too." "I see it." Marcus forced himself to take a steady breath, his mind cataloging details, the way the walls curved seamlessly without visible joints, the soft luminescence that seemed to emanate from the material itself, the faint hum of energy that vibrated through the floor, and most of all, the two women before them, one with soft features and eyes full of anguish, the other taller with an expression carefully neutral. "You're not human," Owen said. Stating the obvious, Because sometimes the obvious needed to be said aloud to become real. No, the softer one, Nessa, she'd said, replied gently. We're Verdi, from a world 17 light years from yours. And I know this is frightening. I know we had no right to bring you here without consent. But, her voice cracked slightly, we're dying. And you might be our only hope. The taller woman stepped forward, her movements fluid and controlled. I am Talia, medical specialist of our expedition. We have been observing Earth for 6 months, searching for individuals who might be genetically compatible with our species. You two possess the markers we need. Compatible for what? Marcus asked, though something in the sorrow on Nessa's face made him suspect the answer. Our males have been rendered sterile by a virus, Nessa explained, each word clearly painful. In 5 years, we've lost the ability to continue our species. We've tried everything, every medical advancement we possess, every genetic manipulation. Nothing works. But human DNA, she gestured helplessly, might hold the key to creating offspring who can resist the virus. The silence that followed felt heavy as a collapsed star. Owen laughed, a short, sharp sound without humor. You abducted us to be sperm donors. We abducted you because 37,000 people are waiting to die, Talia said, her voice hard but not cruel. Because I've watched children wither from despair, because our cities are falling silent, because every day we lose more hope. Yes, we need your genetic material. But more than that, we need you to understand why. Marcus studied them both, the desperation barely hidden beneath Nessa's gentle exterior, the rigid control keeping Talia upright. He'd spent his career learning to read people, to understand what they needed from the spaces he designed. These weren't monsters or invaders. They were terrified. Show us, he said quietly. Nessa's violet eyes widened. Show you? Your world, your people. If you want us to understand, help us understand. Talia and Nessa exchanged glances, some silent communication passing between them. Then Nessa nodded, a small smile of gratitude crossing her features. Follow us. They walked through corridors that seemed to shift and adjust around them, the ship's architecture responding to their presence. Owen stayed close to Marcus, his musician's hands trembling slightly. Marcus wanted to tell him everything would be okay, but he'd never been good at lying. The observation deck took Marcus's breath away. A massive transparent dome stretched above them, revealing the cosmos in its full glory. But dominating the view was Earth, hanging like a blue-green jewel against the velvet darkness. It's beautiful, Owen whispered, his fear momentarily forgotten in wonder. Your world is remarkable, Nessa said, moving to stand beside Marcus. She was shorter than him by several inches, her silver hair catching the starlight. So much diversity, so much life. We've studied your species' history, your art, your music. Humans create beauty even in the midst of struggle. So do you, apparently. Marcus gestured at the ship around them. This vessel is incredible. The way the architecture flows, the integration of form and function, it's like nothing I've ever seen. A genuine smile lit Nessa's face. You appreciate design? I'm an architect. Well, I was. I'm not sure what I am anymore. You're still you, Nessa said softly. We haven't taken that away, even if we've taken your choice about being here. Talia had moved to stand near Owen, her tall frame silhouetted against the stars. You're a musician, she stated rather than asked. How did you know? Your hands. The way you hold them, the calluses on specific fingers. And there's a rhythm to the way you move, even when you're frightened. She paused. We Verdi value art highly. Music especially, it's considered the purest expression of emotion. You have music? Owen asked, curiosity momentarily overcoming his anxiety. Had, Talia corrected, her voice going distant. Our concert halls have been empty for years now. Hard to celebrate when your future is dying. A door slid open, and another figure entered, a male Verdi with deep indigo skin and eyes like liquid gold. He was lean and elegant, moving with a grace that suggested both strength and careful control. "Forgive the interruption," he said, his voice carrying a warm baritone quality. "I'm Kiros, navigator of this vessel. I thought our guests might appreciate refreshment." He carried a tray with strange crystalline vessels containing luminescent liquid. "Is it safe for humans?" Marcus asked. "Perfectly safe. It's mostly water with dissolved minerals and a mild stimulant similar to your caffeine. We've been studying human biochemistry extensively." Owen accepted a vessel cautiously, sniffing it before taking a small sip. His eyebrows rose. "It tastes like starlight, if starlight had a flavor." Kiros smiled. "That's the most poetic description I've heard. Usually, people just say it's sweet." "Owen's a romantic," Marcus said, accepting his own vessel. "And you're not?" Nessa asked, something teasing in her tone. "I'm practical. Romance is Owen's department." "Practical romantics are the best kind," Nessa countered. "They dream with their eyes open." Marcus found himself studying her more closely, the way her skin seemed to shimmer slightly in the starlight, the expressive nature of her features, the genuine warmth in her eyes. She wasn't just beautiful in an alien way. She was beautiful in the universal sense of someone who felt deeply and showed it. "Tell us about the virus," Owen said, settling onto one of the curved benches that seemed to grow organically from the floor. "If we're going to understand, we need to know everything." Talia nodded, her severe expression softening slightly. "The Krillian virus appeared 5 years ago. We still don't know its origin, whether it was natural mutation or biological warfare from one of the conflicts in our past. It targets the reproductive cells of Verdi males with horrifying precision. At first, we didn't notice," Nessa continued, sitting across from Owen, while Kiros leaned against the wall. "The virus has no other symptoms. Men felt fine, showed no signs of illness. But pregnancies stopped occurring. By the time we understood what was happening, 98% of our males between ages 20 and 60 were completely sterile. And the remaining 2%? Marcus asked. "Either too young to have been affected or too old to safely father children," Kiros said quietly. "I'm one of the lucky few who still has viable genetic material, but even that won't last. The virus adapts. Within another year, every Verdi male will be incapable of reproduction." "What about cloning? Artificial chromosomes?" Marcus asked. Talia's laugh was bitter. "We tried everything. Cloning produced only failures. The virus had damaged something essential in our genetic code that we can't replicate artificially. We tried interbreeding with 3 other species from nearby systems. All incompatible, often fatally so. Then our scientists discovered something remarkable," Nessa said, leaning forward with sudden intensity. "Human DNA shares a surprising amount of base structure with ours. The evolutionary paths are different, but there's an underlying compatibility that shouldn't exist given the distance between our worlds. Some of our researchers believe it suggests panspermia," Kiros added. "That life on both our worlds originated from the same cosmic source. Or it's just convergent evolution," Talia said, her skepticism clear. "Regardless of the why, the fact remains. Human genetic material, when combined with Verdi genetic material in our laboratory simulations, produces viable embryos that show resistance to the Krillian virus." Owen set down his vessel, his hands clasped between his knees. "So you need us to donate sperm, and you'll artificially inseminate your women." "Not quite that simple," Talia said. "The genetic combination requires a natural conception to stabilize properly. The embryo needs the biological processes of both human and Verdi physiology working in concert. Artificial insemination has a failure rate of nearly 90%. The implication hung in the air, like a physical weight. You need us to. Actually, Marcus couldn't finish the sentence. We need you to be willing partners with Verdi women who volunteer. For this, Nessa said gently, to help create children who can save our species. Not as slaves or breeding stock, but as partners. Maybe even, she hesitated, vulnerability crossing her features, as something more. This is insane, Owen said, but there was less conviction in his voice than before. It is, Nessa agreed. It's asking for something we have no right to ask. But we're asking anyway, because the alternative is watching everyone we love disappear from the universe. Marcus stood, moving to the transparent dome to stare at Earth. Home, coffee shops and morning traffic, deadlines and client meetings, Sunday dinners with his sister. A life that made sense. He could demand they be returned immediately, could refuse to participate in this desperate gamble, but he kept seeing the look in Nessa's eyes, the hope warring with despair, the guilt over what she was asking mixed with the fierce love for her people. And he thought about what he would do if humanity faced extinction. Wouldn't he cross any line, break any rule, violate any principle to save his species? I want to see your world, he said finally. Before we decide anything, I want to see what we'd be saving. Nessa rose, moving to stand beside him. Her shoulder nearly brushed his. It's a 3-day journey to Verdi. We have quarters prepared for you, food compatible with your biology. We'll show you everything, hide nothing. And if, at the end, you say no. She paused, pain flashing across her face. Then we'll take you home and continue searching. You'd really let us go? Owen asked. We're desperate, Talia said, but we're not monsters. Forced cooperation would taint everything we're trying to save. Kiros pushed off from the wall. I'll set course for home. Nessa, Talia perhaps show our guests to their quarters? It's been an overwhelming evening for them. As they moved through the ship's flowing corridors, Marcus found Nessa walking beside him, while Talia guided Owen slightly ahead. The proximity felt intentional, intimate in a way that made his heart beat faster. You're handling this remarkably well, Nessa observed quietly. I'm terrified, Marcus admitted. But terror doesn't help anyone. Understanding might. That's why I chose you. The words slipped out before she could stop them, and color rose in her lavender cheeks, a deeper purple that Marcus found endearing. I mean, that's why the genetic scans indicated you chose me specifically? They stopped outside a door that opened at their approach, revealing a chamber designed with surprising attention to human comfort. A bed, chairs, soft lighting that mimicked Earth's sun. I watched you for 3 days, Nessa confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. The way you see beauty in everything, the gentleness in how you treat your friend, the careful consideration you give to every decision. I thought, I hoped, that maybe someone like you could understand, could see past the horror of what we're asking to the people we're trying to save. Marcus turned to face her fully, studying the play of emotions across her alien yet familiar features. And what about you, Nessa? Are you one of the volunteers? Her violet eyes met his, and in them he saw vulnerability, hope, and something that looked dangerously like longing. If you agree to help us, she said softly, then yes. I would be honored to be chosen by you. The words hung between them, heavy with implication and promise, and the weight of 2 worlds hanging in the balance. From down the hall, Owen's voice called out, Marcus, you okay? Yeah, he called back, his eyes never leaving Nessa's face. Yeah, I'm okay. But as he stepped into his quarters and the door closed behind him, Marcus wondered if anything would ever be okay again, or if okay was even what he wanted anymore.